Hey people, welcome back to the channel. This is a story in which Naruto meets Kurama in the land of waves and they have a mutual friendship. In this story Naruto shifts toward his mother's side as a Uzumaki seal master. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. Leave a comment if you want to suggest fanfic. Check the description for credits and support the creator of the story. So let us begin. Chapter 27. The decision. It was the third night that Naruto and Hinata began their training. Hinata had called it a night, but Naruto was determined to progress further in his wind manipulation training. Jiraiya said that it would take him years, yet he wasn't going to let that happen while Sasuke continued to make stronger lightning and fire jutsu. The past few days had yielded little progress, and despite it being that late, he would push through until he had this exercise down. Hey brat, let me ask you something, said Tsunade, who had been observing him for the past few hours. Oh, it's you Granny, said Naruto. A vein bulged out of Tsunade's head, obviously irritated at Naruto's comment. What do you want? He said coldly. Why do you do this to yourself? I'm a doctor and I can tell you're already on the verge of exhaustion, said Tsunade. In a world like this, why do you keep doing what you're doing? It's pointless, unless you want to die. Because, unlike you, I actually care about the leaf. I wouldn't even think about betraying it to some snake freak, said Naruto. And if you're wondering why I'm training, it's because I need to become stronger to protect my friends from danger. I don't know about you, but I'll never give up. Yep, he was definitely the ghosts of her past coming back to haunt her in physical form. It was the morning of the 6th day from the time that Tsunade and Orochimaru met and the two genin were making some progress on the waterfall. For it only being just over 2 weeks, you could say that they had actually made a lot of progress. The two who were once considered failures had gotten this far in chakra nature manipulation training in just a few weeks, although they had been using shadow clones, so the true amount of experience actually totaled about a month for Hinata, and almost a year for Naruto. Naruto couldn't believe he never noticed this ability of the shadow clones before. This was just what he needed to eventually be able to work on those super cool jutsus that he had been having dreams about. And Naruto, I don't have much more in me for today, said Hinata, on her knees and panting. She had to dispel one of her clones for a small boost of chakra. It was only late morning, but she had never fully. Come on, you can do this. Just one more try Hinata, said Naruto as his stomach growled. He just smiled. And then we'll go get lunch. Hinata smiled at the blonde's enthusiasm. Alright. Let's just take this one slow though, she said. It's no use if we just rush right through it. Naruto had to agree with her on this. He made another clone to take the place of the clone that Hinata had to dispel. The 5 Narutos and 2 Hinatas took a few minutes to gather their chakra and released it on the waterfall. This time, progress was definitely visible as they both noticed gaps in the waterfall where they were channeling chakra. They had begun to learn how to release their chakra to cut the waterfall, now it was only a matter of time before they were able to cut it themselves. Tonight was the night before when Tsunade was expected to give Orochimaru his answer. Over the past week, thoughts had been echoing throughout her head. Thoughts about the possibility of seeing her loved ones again. Thoughts about helping Orochimaru. Thoughts about coming back to the village. Thoughts about Naruto. There had to have been another reason Jiraiya brought him along other than for training. He resembled them, her late younger brother and her lover, from the days when she still believed. Jiraiya had to have brought him along on purpose. Speaking of Jiraiya, he wanted to meet up again tonight to grab a quick drink. Glad you could join me tonight, Tsunade Haim, said Jiraiya flatteringly. Tsunade remained silent but acknowledged him nonetheless, thoughts still swirling in her mind. The two had a nice drink, but Jiraiya didn't notice that Tsunade had slipped something into his drink. After a few hours, Jiraiya got up and left the bar. No matter what happens tomorrow, there's no way you will just be able to simply return to those days, he said to her as he left. Jiraiya knew. He must have weaseled it out of Shizune somehow. Tsunade took one last look at the sleeping Naruto. He was exhausted and so was Hinata from the training. Hinata was now finally getting the chance to rest her tired chakra coils. This training would help them grow, but that still didn't excuse the fact that she was rather low on chakra at the present moment. Naruto had put in some more extra training after Hinata had called it a day, cramming as many clones as he could fit on the log and creating even more to practice on the leaf exercise. He was determined to get the waterfall exercise the next day. Shizune was becoming increasingly irritated at her master. "Tomorrow, please don't go," she shouted. However, Tsunade was silent. "Why won't you say anything? Please answer my request, Tsunade-sama. If you say you're going, what will you do?" asked Tsunade. This caused Shizune to pause for a little and think. "I will stop you, no matter the cost," declared Shizune. "Shizune, think who you are talking to," said Tsunade with a flare of rage in her eyes. She walked up to Shizune and gave her a good solid punch in the stomach, knocking her unconscious. Tsunade left the room. Her decision has been made. "Hey!" shouted Naruto to Shizune, who was slowly waking up after being unconscious for a few hours. Naruto. She thought about what her master had said about Naruto not waking up for at least another 2 days. Finally, she snapped back to consciousness. "Oh no. Today, what day is it?" Shizune began panicking. "It's Monday." "Why?" said Naruto. Shizune was both relieved and surprised. She was relieved by the fact that today was the day of the exchange and that there still might be time to stop her master. At the same time, she was surprised that Naruto was still standing, good as new and fully energized. "Huh? What is it?" he asked. Naruto. "Stay in the house," she shouted as she darted out the window, only to see Jiraiya crawling back towards the window. He was not feeling good. "Wait, Shizune," said Jiraiya, trying to do his best to stay up. "Damn that Tsunade, she put drugs in my drink last night. I can't even release chakra and my whole body stings. I can barely hold my chopsticks." Jiraiya had made out of the bar last night, but the drugs kicked in and he fell asleep, waking up in some dark alley, head first in a trash can. "Like I said, humans are just sad, sad beings," said Kurama. Naruto wanted to argue, but the pervy sage was not helping his argument. In her fallen state, she's still a medical specialist. She's about the only one who can create a tasteless, odorless drug and use it against ninja, explained a weak Jiraiya. "But, even though I was drunk, to get me like that, Shizune, what you guys talked to Orochimaru about, it's about time you tell us." Shizune began panicking again and told them to come with her. She explained what Orochimaru had offered Tsunade on the way there. "Damn it, the answer has to be no," said Jiraiya as they rushed to stop Tsunade. "She's still unable to let those two go and move on. Based on the situation, I may actually have to kill her." Master Jiraiya, what is the problem? Why are we in a hurry?" asked Hinata. Naruto also wanted to know the answer as to what that old bag of bones was up to. Jiraiya explained that she was asked to heal Orochimaru's arms, restoring his power, and that today was the day of the decision. He had managed to get Shizune to talk one night after taking Tsunade's apprentice out to the bar a few nights ago. Tsunade was standing in the same alley facing Orochimaru. "So the answer is?" asked the snake Sannin. Tsunade looked down, in deep thought. "I will heal your arms, in exchange you keep your hands off Konoha," said Tsunade. "Hey, alright," laughed Orochimaru. He lifted his wounded arms towards Tsunade and she generated a green energy between her hands. However, a kunai forced them to jump apart. Orochimaru and Tsunade looked up to see that Kabuto had been the one to intervene. "What is this, to come this far and betray me?" asked Orochimaru. Tsunade. Kabuto's attack had sent a clear message to Orochimaru, that the energy that she generated was not meant to heal him, but to kill him. "How could you come to an answer like this, Tsunade Hime, and try to kill me?" Tsunade stared down her former teammate with a look of killing intent. However, Orochimaru was left unfazed from this. He looked at Tsunade with his typical evil and sadistic look. "I trust you, Kabuto, from the bottom of my heart. Your loyalty and ability to see Tsunade's intended attack. Yes, we are both from the medical corps, so it wasn't too difficult to see that her chakra was full of intent to kill," explained Kabuto. "Tsunade, I honestly intended to revive those two and I even agreed to spare the leaf," said Orochimaru. Orochimaru, I knew that you keeping your hands off the leaf was a lie. I knew that but, those two people, even just one more time, I wanted to see them. Even for just one more time, I wanted to touch them, to see their smiling faces, explained Tsunade as she started to tear up. I'll really be able to see Dan and Nawagi again. The moment I felt that on my skin, I felt like a fool. Those two's faces, from just remembering them, for me to become this blind, I love them, because I truly love them, I wanted to see them and hug them. But I couldn't, because of that brat, their dream that I had tried to forget has been reborn. The dream that those two bet their lives on, having those dreams was also my wish. All things that have shape eventually crumble, you've said that. However, only this feeling will not decay. By this point, two waterfalls were running down Tsunade's face, one originating from each eye. So the deal is off, then we will be forced to do it, said Orochimaru as Tsunade snapped back to the current situation. With rage taking over her emotions, Tsunade leapt at Orochimaru and Kabuto. As she slammed her foot into the ground, it crumbled away, leaving a large crater in the place where the two traitors once stood. Kabuto and Orochimaru had just barely dodged that attack. Now that I think about it, I've never fought against you before, said Orochimaru as Tsunade charged towards them. You bastards. I'll kill all of you now, shouted Tsunade. Kabuto and Orochimaru just barely dodged her attack. They knew that if Tsunade could land one blow on them, it could be enough to kill them. Orochimaru-sama, this place is a bit too crowded for this type of fight, said Kabuto. I think it is wise if we were to move elsewhere. Also, I noticed there is something up with Tsunade's servant. It is only a matter of time before he comes and joins the battle. He. Who is he? Asked Orochimaru, curiously. He's one of you, the legendary Sannin. Jiraiya, said Kabuto as the two of them retreated with Tsunade in close pursuit. Orochimaru was getting a little laugh out of this. This would be a fun reunion, despite Kabuto fearing for his life at the thought of two Sannin. Shortly after, Jiraiya, Shizune, Naruto, and Hinata arrived on scene and noticed the carnage. This relieved everyone as they realized that Tsunade must have decided not to go through with the exchange and was instead trying to kill Orochimaru. They weren't sure of which way they went, but thanks to Hinata's Byakugan, they were easily able to pick up on the trail of craters in the ground and smashed things, obviously Tsunade's doing. Tsunade, Orochimaru, and Kabuto came to a halt. Their battle was ready to begin. Running low on energy from running for his life, Kabuto popped a soldier pill into his mouth to replenish his chakra. He made a few hand seals and activated his chakra scalpels. He disappeared underground and reappeared just beneath Tsunade, hoping to tag her with his scalpels. If the scalpels hit, they would deal internal damage, almost like the Hyuga's gentle fist. Tsunade dodged the first attack, but Kabuto quickly rebounded and attacked again, tagging her right arm and thigh, cutting the muscles in them. Tsunade examined her injuries, quickly realizing that Kabuto had cut her muscles and she realized that he was trained in the medical arts as well. I've cut your biceps and abdomen muscles. You won't be able to use your strength now, claimed Kabuto. Chakra scalpel. So why didn't you aim for my arteries? Asked Tsunade. Certainly with this chakra scalpel, I could have severed all your muscles and blood vessels, but maintaining the accuracy and power required for that in combat is extremely difficult, explained Kabuto. Well, since I'm aiming for your neck, it shouldn't be a problem now. Kabuto charged at Tsunade and hit her neck, just above the collarbone. He managed to cut her rakonkan, the muscles surrounding her respiratory area, making it difficult for her to breathe. Kabuto dropped his guard, thinking that he had Tsunade in a position where he didn't have to worry. However, Tsunade chopped the back of his neck, sending an electrical current through his body. Tsunade wasn't an ordinary medical ninja and Kabuto was beginning to realize that. Tsunade stood up and began to heal herself while Kabuto quickly realized that Tsunade had messed up the electrical signals in his body with that last blow. When he tried to move his right leg, his left thumb would move. What is this? It's not my muscles, but my nerves, asked a startled Kabuto. Seems like you've realized. Yes, it is your nerves. I changed my chakra into electricity, and sent the electric waves into your nervous system, explained Tsunade. Kabuto was quickly realizing that this was going to be a difficult battle. Much to Tsunade's surprise, Kabuto was able to regain control of his nervous system rather quickly and he charged at her with a kunai ready. However, before he could get in range, Jiraiya, Naruto, Shizune, and Hinata appeared before him in a puff of smoke. Long time no see, Jiraiya, hissed Orochimaru. Those wild eyes of yours. You haven't changed a bit, Orochimaru, said Jiraiya. What? What is Kabuto doing here? Shouted Naruto, seeing Kabuto before them. Hello, Naruto, said Kabuto. Jiraiya realized that the two of them recognized each other. Wanting to kill Kabuto, Tsunade barged through them and ran towards Kabuto. Before she could land her blow, blood went flying onto her and she froze in fear. Kabuto had cut himself to use Tsunade's own fear to immobilize her. As she stood in front of him, he just continued to spill blood from his wrist onto her. Seeing his opening, Kabuto punched Tsunade, sending her back towards Naruto and Jiraiya. What's going on? Why is Kabuto fighting Tsunade? Asked a surprised Naruto. Naruto, look at his headband. He is Orochimaru's subordinate, explained Jiraiya. HMPH, that's right, I'm a spy for the Sound Village, admitted Kabuto. And based on the data on you I collected from the Chunin exams, unlike Sasuke, you have no talent as a shinobi. This got Naruto's blood boiling. Shizune ran over to her master and began to wipe the blood off of her, hoping to stop the shaking and cowering. Naruto sent a glare towards Kabuto. Hey, even if you do make a scary face like that, you are nothing more than an out-of-place genin. You have been relying on that thing inside of you, but with the 3 Sannin here, you are nothing. You are like a small bug, if you try something, I will kill you, stated Kabuto. Hey Kit, you want me to teach this insolent brat a lesson? Asked Kurama, slightly insulted by Kabuto's comments. Sorry, but I want to smack this bastard around myself, said Naruto, refusing Kurama's help. Besides, he doesn't know of us and I don't want Orochimaru thinking that what happened in the forest was something more than a mistake. Naruto charged at Kabuto, making a few shadow clones in the process. Jiraiya tried to stop him, but the drug was still having an effect on his system. However, thankfully Kabuto's right arm was in no shape to fight with because of that wound. Naruto had all 4 clones attack at once, but he was blinded when Kabuto splashed some blood at him. Naruto flew back, but Shizune managed to catch him, spitting some of her poisoned needles at him in the process. Kabuto barely had time to react and blocked them with his headband. Kabuto popped a blood-stopping pill, showing Shizune that he was a medical ninja too as he returned to Orochimaru's side. Shizune, handle 4 eyes. I'll take care of Orochimaru, said Jiraiya. But before that, I would like to ask you something about my body. I'm sorry, but the effects will last for a few more hours, explained Shizune. There is nothing I can do about it. Tsunade, just worry about healing yourself, said Jiraiya. Hey, what about me? Shouted Naruto, not being able to get in on the action. You and Hinata protect Tsunade, ordered Jiraiya. Naruto objected, wanting to get in on the action, but a battle with all 3 Sannin involved was a fight Hinata did not necessarily want to get in the middle of. Naruto, Orochimaru is one of the 3 Sannin and the one who killed the Sandaime, only I can take him, said Jiraiya, bending down to Naruto. The only way I can see you matching up even close against him is by using the Kyuubi and I would rather not reveal that secret to Orochimaru. He may have seen it in the forest, but for now, let's just hope he saw that as a fluke and that the Kyuubi actually trying to break free. Simultaneously, Jiraiya and Kabuto, acting for Orochimaru, went through the motions for their summoning jutsu. After the smoke cleared, Orochimaru and Kabuto each stood atop a giant snake. Jiraiya, well, sup, said Gamakichi, appearing as Jiraiya's summons. What? Shouted both Naruto and Jiraiya. Jiraiya is still affected by the drug. He can't control chakra well, thought Shizune. Haha, your stupidity still hasn't been cured. I'll attack first, declared Orochimaru. I don't think there exists anyone with as little talent as you, Jiraiya. It looks like Tsunade's been hurt by something. Orochimaru-sama. That technique requires a sacrifice. What if Tsunade was thinking ahead and gave him a drug to prepare him as a sacrifice, examined Kabuto. Orochimaru got a laugh out of that. Naruto, biting his finger and going through the hand seals for the summoning jutsu. Summoning jutsu. EHH. The Kyuubi boy from the exam. Maybe I should have stuck around to kill him after all, said Orochimaru to Kabuto. I've never dealt with a power like that of the Kyuubi. Poof! Naruto's summoning went through and he was facing Gamatotsu, Gamekichi's younger brother. Gamatotsu was a small yellow toad, about the same size as Gamekichi. And it looks like I won't have to, since he don't have any talent as a ninja, laughed Orochimaru. Really? Is that the best you can? Seriously do? Questioned Kurama. Naruto didn't say anything out of frustration, only confirming Kurama's comment. Oh, Gamatotsu. What are you doing here? Asked Gamekichi. Oh, big brother. This is my first time being summoned, but I'll try my hardest, said Gamatotsu. Idiot. You'll just end up a snack if you don't run and hide, said Gamekichi. In their confusion, the snakes launched themselves at the group of Leaf Ninja. Their attack was barely dodged and Kabuto had moved towards Tsunade and Shizune. As Jiraiya turned to see Orochimaru, he made a few hand seals. Doten. Swamp of the underworld. Below then snake, a pit of deep mud formed and the snake began to sink. However, because of Jiraiya's ailment, the swamp was not powerful enough to completely sink the snake. Shizune launched a few needles at Kabuto, who dodged them with ease. He activated his chakra scalpel, but Shizune unleashed poison gas from her mouth. When the cloud cleared, Kabuto was nowhere to be seen. By surprise, Kabuto emerged from the ground and tagged Shizune in the ankles, severing her Achilles tendons. Naruto and Hinata were busy recovering from the snake's attack. They had managed to avoid the worst, but it still didn't mean that they had completely avoided the attack. Making his way to Tsunade, Kabuto threw Shizune aside as a drop of blood landed on Tsunade, causing her to shudder some more. She looked around to see Shizune lying on the ground in pain and Naruto and Hinata struggling to get up after their near collision with the tail of that snake. This was looking like it was going to be Naoki and Dan all over again. Orochimaru charged at Jiraiya, extending his neck out to bite Jiraiya. Ninpu. Underworld spines. Jiraiya's hair wrapped around him, covering him in a blanket of spikes. Orochimaru's head bit Jiraiya in the front of the neck, but his leg had also hit the spines as he impaled himself. Haha, there's that insanity of my old village, said Orochimaru. You've become a companion of those kid and for the sake of the village, you've degraded yourself to chauffeur. My talent of seeing through people is unsurpassed and those two are nothing but failures. Jiraiya smiled. That's for sure. I wouldn't need a kid like Sasuke. A boy being raised as a natural prodigy from the beginning is no fun. So you're looking for someone like yourself? Asked Orochimaru. I can't beat the Sharingan user who is heir to the Uchiha clan. Why bother with someone like Naruto who hasn't got something like that? A ninja talent that allows them to master every technique in the world, that is what his ninja heritage entails. He only needs to encounter the techniques. HMPH, that's not what ninja talent entails. You still don't understand what it takes for a shinobi to be called a ninja, smirked Jiraiya. I'll teach you one thing, the most important ninja talent is not the number of techniques one acquires. The most important thing is a spirit which never gives up. Kabuto threw a punch at Tsunade, which given her condition, would have ended it for her. Protection of the 8 trigrams, called out Hinata as she activated her defense and repelled Kabuto's attack. As that defense of hers already had some wind chakra mixed into it, it began to shred Kabuto's hand until he finally backed off. Because of his quick reflexes, he was able to avoid the worst, but there were some pretty deep cuts in his hand and it was bleeding almost as much as the self-inflicted cut he made. However, he was a medic by trade and wounds like this were easy to heal. He would have been able to heal himself as it wasn't for what was behind him. Rasengan! Shouted Naruto, lunging at Kabuto. Unlike Neji, Kabuto had the training and reflexes to dodge this one. Naruto regained himself and found himself next to Hinata, standing between Kabuto and Tsunade. Step aside. The two of you should just run. If you die here, your dreams will die as well, taunted Kabuto, sounding a lot like Neji from the prelims. But, if you have a dream, then you cannot run away, so you're left with only one option, die. I'm not dead yet. And you won't lay your fingers on Tsunade Bachan here, declared Naruto. Hinata's resolve strengthened as well as the two of them prepared to fight Orochimaru's lackey. Both of you should just go, said Tsunade, not wanting to see anyone else die. She had to admit that Naruto was a lot like Nawaki and that day was one day she did not want to relive. If you die, then it will all be for naught. Like I said before Granny, I'm not giving up. I will protect those important to me and if you're so important to Pervy Sage, then I'll protect you as well. After all, I'm not going to die until I become Hokage, declared Naruto. I won't back down either. Like Naruto, I won't give up. That's my Nindo, declared Hinata. Naruto smiled a little at this. Fine, then die, shouted Kabuto as he ran forward. Protection of the 8 trigrams. Rasengan. Hinata used her defense to stop Kabuto just as Naruto ran forwards with his Rasengan. Hinata's hit first, stunning Kabuto long enough for Naruto to land his attack. This sent Kabuto flying back over 20 meters and slamming into a rock. However, Kabuto stood on his feet, shocking everyone. You took that attack, how can you still be standing, said a shocked Tsunade. Hey, I collected chakra in my abdomen before impact and started healing right away. I'm the one who saved Orochimaru. It's useless to use that attack against me, my resilience is overwhelming, smiled Kabuto. He took a step forward but collapsed to the ground. The damage done had been more than he could heal. Their combined attack was effective. Naruto and Hinata turned around to face Tsunade. After everything that she said and everything that had happened, they still came through. Naruto, behind you, shouted Hinata, catching something with her Byakugan. Orochimaru had disengaged with Jiraiya and had shot towards Naruto with his sword of Kusangai. He knew now that brat could not be allowed to live as he would become a major problem in the future, especially with Akatsuki planning on making its move soon. By the time Hinata realized Orochimaru, it was too late as her 360-0 vision was limited to only about 50 meters. Orochimaru was traveling too fast and he was locked onto Naruto. Blood splattered all over the ground as the sword ripped through flesh, however, this was not Naruto's flesh. Tsunade had jumped in the way, seeing this coming before Hinata had. She took the blow through her chest, just to the left of her heart as Naruto and Hinata looked on in horror. Jiraiya was nearby, trying to pull himself out of a crater that he had made when Orochimaru slammed him in the ground just before stabbing Tsunade. Tsunade, I wasn't trying to kill you, said Orochimaru. Don't get in my way, if that brat survives, he'll cause a great deal of problems later on. No, I'll protect him, no matter what. I won't let it happen again, said a defiant Tsunade. Bachan, was all Naruto could get out. Tsunade had done a complete 180 from before. I've always been a horrible gambler, but there is something about this kid that is urging me to place my bets on him. For once, I'm sure I won't lose, declared Tsunade. These kids are the future of Konoha, something you'll never understand. Fufu. What are you babbling about? Laughed Orochimaru. Besides, being Hokage is worthless, only a fool would want it. If that's really what you want, then die like all the fools in the leaf. Orochimaru removed the sword from Tsunade's chest and slashed her from the shoulder to just below the rib cage on the opposite side of her body. Tsunade, cried Hinata and Shizune. You worthless trash, now die so that I can finish off the rest of you fools, shouted Orochimaru as he took one more swing at her. No, I'll bet my life on these kids, said a smiling Tsunade, giving Orochimaru a defiantly strong uppercut in the process. What? Her trembling stopped, thought the snake Sannin. Indeed, Tsunade had gotten over her case of hemophobia. Orochimaru looked up to see markings covering her face, emanating from the diamond on her forehead. Why am I doing this? Said Tsunade. Because as of now, I am the Godime Hokage of Konohagakure. Tsunade-sama overcame her hemophobia, thought a happy Shizune. That happiness didn't last long as she saw the seal on Tsunade's forehead. Wait, Tsunade-sama. Don't release that seal, I'll heal your wounds. Tsunade Bachan, said a confused, yet now impressed Naruto. Perhaps she was Hokage material now. It was too late. Yin seal, release, shouted Tsunade as she flooded her system with a massive amount of chakra that she had been storing up. Ninpu. Genesis Rebirth. As she activated her jutsu, the wounds on her body began to close. Hey, seems like I'm not the only one developing new jutsu, said Orochimaru. Care sharing what that is? I've been gathering chakra into the seal on my forehead for quite some time now. I used that chakra to stimulate the production of various enzymes and increase cell regeneration and rapid reformation, explained Tsunade. I can reconstruct any damaged parts and organs in my body. It's not just simple healing, it's regeneration. Yes, but the number of times cells can divide is limited, meaning that using the technique shortens her own lifespan, thought Shizune. You too, I'll take it from here. Tsunade took some blood from her closing wounds and rubbed it on her arm. Orochimaru knew what was coming and jumped back to Kabuto's side, who began performing the summoning jutsu. Jiraiya was already proceeding to do the same thing. Summoning jutsu, the three Sannin shouted at the same time. All three Sannin stood atop their respective summons. Tsunade on Katsuyu, Orochimaru on Manda, and Jiraiya on Gamabunta. Hey dad, shouted Gamatatsu as everyone else was running for cover from the three giants. Manda and Orochimaru. Tsunade and Katsuyu. You planning some sort of special reunion? Jiraiya, said the Toad boss taking a smoke from his pipe. Don't crack stupid jokes when I call you for a tough job. It's about time to settle an old enmity, said Jiraiya. Now, we are going to defeat Orochimaru. Hey Orochimaru, what are you smoking? Hissed Manda. Summoning me to this lame excuse of a land, want me to eat your sorry ass. Please Manda-sama, we'll thank you generously later on, pleaded Kabuto. Who the hell do you think you're talking to? Keep your dirty gas bags shut, you stupid brat. Manda directed his insult towards Kabuto. Whoa! Exclaimed Naruto and Hinata simultaneously. They were standing behind Tsunade on top of Katsuyu. Katsuyu, take these two to Shizune, Tsunade ordered. Out of all the boss summons, Katsuyu was the tamest. She obliged and split off a part of herself to carry Naruto and Hinata to Shizune. Hold on you two. Huh? Said a confused Naruto. He got his answer a second later as the split Katsuyu fell to the ground, crashing in front of Shizune and leaving Hinata wide-eyed and silently freaking out. The pair and Katsuyu landed in front of Shizune, who had just finished healing her own wounds. You want me to turn you into toad jerky? Manda said to Gamabunta. Ha, funny. I've always wanted a snake skin wallet, responded Gamabunta, reaching for his sword. Katsuyu remained quiet. Orochimaru. You've adopted an evil way that is too much. We are no longer comrades, declared Jiraiya. Comrades. Don't make me laugh, laughed Orochimaru. Today is the last time we will be called Sannin together, Orochimaru, shouted Tsunade. The battle began. Katsuyu shot acid at Manda, who dodged to and wrapped Katsuyu up, squeezing her tightly. Tsunade gave the command and Katsuyu split into thousands of smaller slugs before reforming away from Manda. Gamabunta and Jiraiya charged at the snake with sword at the ready. Gamabunta lunged but Manda caught the sword with his mouth, disarming Gamabunta. Tsunade, get away, ordered Jiraiya as Tsunade and Katsuyu did so. Bunta, give me oil. Gamabunta shot out oil and Jiraiya ignited the oil, producing a massive flamethrower that engulfed Manda and Orochimaru. When the flames settled, all that remained was a charred snake skin. Manda had escaped. From underground, Manda shot out at Jiraiya and Gamabunta. However, Tsunade had grabbed hold of Gamabunta's sword while in the air and drove it down on top of the snake, piercing him through the roof of the mouth. Unfortunately, that blow did not kill the giant snake. Whoa. This battle is on a whole nother level. Is this Hokage level combat? Thought Naruto, becoming even more excited about becoming Hokage one day. Orochimaru lashed out his tongue, catching Tsunade around the neck. She reeled him in and delivered a bone-shattering punch to his face. Manda disappeared, cursing Orochimaru and threatening to eat him the next time he appeared. Tsunade, even if you do not cooperate, there is still one option left. There is still one way to revive my arms, claimed Orochimaru. It was then that Jiraiya and Tsunade saw it. Another face underneath Orochimaru's. I will surely destroy the leaf. We will meet again, Jiraiya, Tsunade. With that, Orochimaru sunk into the ground while Kabuto disappeared in a puff of smoke. That face. Somehow he must have taken over another body, said a shocked and disgusted Jiraiya. No wonder he didn't feel like himself when we met. Tsunade jumped down from the sword, feeling the side effects of using her jutsu. Her body was starting to revert back to her 50-year-old self. Don't worry, after a bit of rest, I'll be able to revert to my younger self, explained Tsunade. Let's rest in the village a few days before heading home. The following evening, the five of them were sitting in the same bar where they had initially met. So this old hag is going to be Hokage? Asked Naruto to Jiraiya. What are you irritated with, Naruto? Asked Jiraiya. Well, if you compare her with the third, she's rough, selfish, loose with money, easily pissed off, and stupid, said Naruto. Are you sure she can do it? I'm worried. Besides, isn't she a 50-year-old hag? She's faking her youth. Someone like the Hokage shouldn't deceive everyone like that. Let's take this outside, brat, shouted Tsunade. Not again, said Jiraiya as everyone's sweat dropped. They found themselves outside in the same ally as before. Like last time, Tsunade held up one finger, saying that was all she needed and called Naruto a brat, again. Stop calling me brat, damn it, shouted Naruto. I'll be Hokage someday. Naruto ran towards Tsunade, only for this fight to repeat the last. Tsunade flicked off his headband. One finger, again, he thought as he braced himself for Tsunade's monstrous strength. The pain he had been expecting never came. Instead, he felt something warm and soft press against his forehead. He opened his eyes to see Tsunade giving him a soft kiss on his forehead. He was a little confused as he gave him a light tap on the chest. Become a good man, and a respectable Hokage, brat, Tsunade said, smiling at him. Naruto looked back at her, putting his hands behind his head and giving her a big smile. Roger, Bachan, said Naruto. Jiraiya braced for the Armageddon, but it never came. Shizune had also been watching the whole affair and came up next to everyone. Oh wait, now that you mention it, I almost forgot. Hinata, we have to get that waterfall exercise down today. The five of them found themselves at Naruto and Hinata's training ground. The two genin proceeded to make as many clones as they could, which was 2 for Hinata, and Naruto filled up the rest of the log. Alright. Naruto shouted as the two of them gathered their chakra. On 3, 1, 2, 3. With that, Naruto and Hinata poured their wind chakra into the waterfall, successfully cutting it. Naruto cheered, as he once again wrapped his arms around Hinata, causing her to blush but thankfully not faint. Now I see why you brought the Hyuga girl along, whispered Tsunade to Jiraiya. What? Laughed Jiraiya, trying to get off the subject. I only brought her along because her father asked me. Oh, don't get started on that. I remember the time when you hooked Hiyashi up with that nice lady. Speaking of which, Hinata looks a lot like her, said Tsunade, now playing with a sweating Jiraiya. I hope you weren't hoping to get anything for your books out of this, were you? What? Of course not, gulped Jiraiya, taking a few steps back and knocking his pack into the water. Hey pervy sage. Watch where you're going, my money's in there. Shouted Naruto, retrieving Jiraiya's pack. He pulled out the box that Naruto had put his money in from a week ago, revealing the 100,000 ryo that he had won from the slot machine. Tsunade looked at the wad of cash wide-eyed. Hey Naruto, where did you get all that money? She asked nicely, obviously trying to get some for gambling later that evening. Naruto just smiled. I won it. Wait, you won it? How? She questioned. I don't know. I just put a coin into a machine, pulled a lever and all that money came out, said a still clueless Naruto. Jiraiya explained to Tsunade that the kid had managed to hit the jackpot on the slots the other day and got roughly 100,000 ryo out of it. Tsunade was stunned at the kid's luck. Alright brat, after dinner you and I are going to the gambling hall and I'm teaching you how to play poker, declared Tsunade. Tsunade-sama, shouted Shizune. She was obviously against this. Poker. Naruto thought back to one of the conversations he had with Kurama, the one about gambling souls. Ah. I don't want to gamble my soul. Tsunade and Shizune looked at him with a confused expression on their faces. Jiraiya explained to them that apparently the Kyuubi told Naruto about a tailed beast poker night where they wager their vessel's souls, and Tsunade just laughed at Naruto's pale expression. Don't worry about what the Kyuubi told you brat, this should be all you need. Tsunade pulled out 30,000 ryo out of the box. Tsunade-sama, shouted Shizune, but her master just ignored her. Naruto was confused, more by how Tsunade knew about the Kyuubi but also about the idea of gambling the money with someone who constantly lost. Don't worry, I've known about fuzzball, as long as the pervert here. Although as Hokage, I'm going to need to see that contract Jiraiya mentioned, she said. UHG. Why do I have that feeling that everyone's going to start calling me fuzzball now? Damn it, swore Kurama, putting his head down with his paws on top of his head. Outside the cage in Naruto's mind, the blonde Jinchuriki couldn't stop laughing at the demon's misfortune. Naruto ran through the seals and summoned the contract. Tsunade took a look over it and was genuinely surprised that the Kyuubi had actually agreed to this and that the two had practically befriended each other. Tsunade repeated what Jiraiya told him about using the Kyuubi power and that there were people even within the village that would try to exploit it for themselves. However, like Jiraiya and Kakashi before, the name Madara Uchiha worried her greatly. Over dinner, Tsunade explained to him the general rules of poker. Afterwards, she dragged him to the hall and sat him down at a table. Most of the other men there were drooling. Not only had the legendary sucker shown up, but she also brought along with her some fresh blood. Well, what do we have here? Asked one of the men. Are you here to play, kid? That's Naruto Uzumaki. And yes, I'm here to play, declared Naruto. He sat down and exchanged the money Tsunade had given him for chips. The first game was 5-card draw. As the cards were dealt, one of the men got a happy smile on his face. To the other players, this was a sure sign that he had a good hand. Placing his first bet, the oblivious Naruto was the only one who called. What'll you have? Announced the dealer. 1, said the man with the good hand. The dealer handed him his card and his spirits jumped. That was just the card he needed. And for you, the dealer said, turning to Naruto. 2 I guess, said Naruto, handing the dealer 2 of his cards. The man was trying to contain his laughter. Today was his lucky day. He had a great hand and an oblivious kid with money flowing out the ears. He hated to do it, but the kid would have to learn sooner or later. Alright kid, I'll bet 30,000 inches, said the man, pushing in enough that would force Naruto to go all in. Naruto called as everyone else at the table pleaded with him not to. It was too late. The man put down his cards, revealing a full house of 5s and 9s. Even Tsunade was feeling sorry for bringing Naruto into the game as he was. Does a flush beat that? Asked Naruto. Hey, sorry kid. If a flush is all you have, then I win, declared the man. In disappointment, Naruto put his 5 cards on the table and put his head down in defeat. Everyone nearly face planted in their seats. What? Screamed the man in disbelief at Naruto's cards. Naruto picked his head up to see what everyone was so shocked about, not having a clue. Tsunade just walked over to him and put her hand on his shoulder. You won, brat, she said, pointing at his cards. I did. But that man said his cards beat a flush, said Naruto. Well, your flush is special and as such it beats his full house, explained Tsunade. She pointed to his cards, a 10 of hearts, Jack of hearts, Queen of hearts, King of hearts, and Ace of hearts. Naruto had managed to draw a royal flush on his very first hand in poker and doubled the money that he had come in with. Damn, this kid really is luckier than the Nanabi, thought Kurama, cracking up at the look on the other man's face. Definitely bringing him to the next tailed beast poker night. After about an hour of playing, Naruto began to grow bored and left the table. Before leaving the casino, Tsunade surveyed the damage. Naruto had completely taken away 3 men's money and left one of them in such a bad state of shock and disbelief that not even the Kyuubi would be able to snap him out of it. Naruto left with almost 100,000 ryo, more than tripling the money he came into the casino with. Returning back to the hotel, Jiraiya was prepared to beat Tsunade's head in for taking Naruto to the casino. He was left dumbfounded when Naruto walked in with a case full of money. The first thing they were doing when they got back to Konoha was putting the 200,000 ryo that Naruto had won over the course of his trip in the bank, mainly to keep Tsunade away from it. Chapter 28. The Godime Hokage. The group remained in Tanzaka for 2 more days following Naruto and Hinata's completion of the waterfall exercise to fully rest from their battle against Orochimaru. Much to Shizun's objections, Tsunade had been trying to either drag Naruto back to the casino, or get him to lend her some of his money, which did not work so well seeing as Jiraiya was the one who was holding onto Naruto's money. Naruto had spent most of those days trying to coax Jiraiya into either teaching him the next exercise for wind manipulation, or teaching him a wind jutsu. Jiraiya gave into the later, not wanting to move on to the next exercise as he felt that Asuma, the only other one in the leaf with a known wind element, would be better suited for that. Jiraiya didn't come fully prepared to teach them actual wind jutsu, not expecting them to progress this far in their training. However, he did bring along one scroll with a rather basic wind jutsu, Fuden, Gale Palm. After examining the scroll, the idea of this jutsu was to compress the wind chakra in between clasped hands and unleash it as a powerful gust. The technique was a basic C-rank jutsu, but Jiraiya convinced Naruto that it was a good place to start. Regardless of the rank, Naruto was excited to finally be learning his first elemental jutsu. Being only a C-rank jutsu, it only took them a day to get the basics of the jutsu down. The hardest part was compressing the chakra between their hands before they infused it with the wind element. Believe it or not, the compression part was not too difficult for Naruto, as he has already had experience compressing and containing chakra with his Rasengan. Hinata followed closely behind with getting the jutsu down. The results were rather impressive for a first time as the two genin unleashed their attack on an unsuspecting tree, managing to rip a few larger branches off of it. In combat, this technique was not necessarily meant to wound an opponent, but knock them back with a great force of wind. It also showed promise as a defensive technique, being able to blow away most thrown projectile weapons. When the time came for them to return home and Tsunade to assume her role as Hokage, they left Tanzaku town. From there, it was a 2-day walk and thankfully for Jiraiya, there was a hot spring village at the halfway point. This was where they decided to stop for the night. Inside the bath, Jiraiya and Naruto were in the men's bathing area with Shizune, Tsunade, and Hinata over in the women's bathing area. Surprisingly enough, Jiraiya wasn't even attempting to peep. The barrier was perfect for that, being a wall of stacked bamboo, and it would be rather easy to wedge a pencil in to give him an opening. However, there were two things preventing him from doing so. The first was that threat from Hiashi a few weeks ago. He liked a healthy chakra flow to certain areas of his body, but what really stopped him was the second. On the other side of the wall was Tsunade. Even though he was a pervert, he wasn't a stupid pervert. The last time he had been caught peeping on Tsunade was the first time in his life where he nearly died, and he didn't want to be spending the next month in the ICU with Tsunade being the one in charge of him. Wow, pervy sage, I'm impressed you aren't peeping, said Naruto. Jiraiya was leaning back against the edge of the bath, taking a sip from a bottle of sake that he had brought with him. Kid, there's more to life than women, said Jiraiya. Speaking of which, are there any girls back home that you, well, you know? Huh, said Naruto, as dense as ever. And I thought he was actually making progress these past few weeks, thought Jiraiya. You know, are there any girls back at home that are special to you? Huh. Girls that are special to me? Asked Naruto, still confused at where the old pervert was trying to get at. Even the fox was at a loss of words. Jiraiya sighed. By special, are there any girls that you like? You know, do you have someone who you would want to be your girlfriend? Said Jiraiya, finally getting to the point. Girlfriend? I don't want a girlfriend, responded Naruto, severely disappointing Jiraiya. Although, there is one girl. Oh, said Jiraiya, slipping a little bit into pervert mode. And who might that be? Gah. Not like that, you pervert, shouted Naruto. Jiraiya. Tsunade was heard across the divider and Jiraiya froze in fear. Her voice was rather sweet sounding, which was usually followed by the, you'd better run or you're going to die on spot, tone. It's not like that, Tsunade, pleaded Jiraiya. Naruto and I are just having a little talk. HMPH. You better not turn him into a pervert as well, warned Tsunade. Jiraiya turned his attention back to Naruto. Well, her name is Sakura, said Naruto. Jiraiya was slightly disappointed at this. Ah, that little pink-haired girl on your team who is always fawning over Sasuke and using you as a punching bag. But, well. Naruto couldn't find a way to debate what Jiraiya was saying. I'm right, aren't I? Asked Jiraiya, trying to push Naruto further. Has she ever done anything truly nice for you? Well, not really. There was this one time back in the Forest of Death when I told my team about Fuzzball, but after that, things went back to normal, with her still thinking about nothing but Sasuke Tem. So what you're saying is that she doesn't really care that much for you. At least not much more than a teammate, said Jiraiya. Again, Naruto tried to argue, but couldn't find the words. Let me ask you something. Assume that she found out about the Kyuubi before the time, what do you think would happen? Well, Naruto was forced to think about this one. What did everyone else do? They hated him for it, and she would have most likely been the same. Sakura, she probably would have hated me. Pretty much everyone in the village hated me for it, except the old man, Teuchi, Ayame, Iruka-sensei, and Naruto's attention turned towards the divider as Hinata came to mind. Now that I think about it, Hinata knew and she never hated me. In fact, she tried to get closer to me, but I never saw it. Naruto was finally beginning to realize. However, over the past few weeks, I feel like we've gotten to know each other better and know I'm beginning to regret not getting to know her back in the academy. And then there were these times when, well, I don't really know how to describe it. It was warm and I felt happy. Pervy sage, what exactly does that mean? Looks like he's beginning to pick up on it a little, thought Jiraiya. I'm sorry, but that's something you'll need to figure out on your own. Naruto was a little depressed. Jiraiya wasn't going to answer. I will say this though, Naruto. When it comes to girls and women, find one who will always be there and support you. It was at that point in their conversation when someone else joined the two in the hot tub. A man, probably in his early 40s, walked in and took a seat directly next to the divider. Jiraiya knew an amateur when he saw one as the man tried to wedge a hole in the divider. Naruto, let's get out, he said, pointing at the perverted newcomer. Even Naruto knew what this man was doing and actually agreed with Jiraiya. However, an idea was popping into his head, an incredibly evil idea, but this man deserved it. Do it, encouraged Kurama. Jiraiya walked into the changing room and before Naruto entered, he turned around and took a big breath. Hey! Quit peeping at naked women, you pervert, he shouted loud enough for the women here. A few shrieks were heard, followed by something no man will ever hear twice in their life. Tsunade-sama, shouted Shizune, trying to calm the raging big-breasted blonde. Jiraiya, growled Tsunade, with red eyes that could easily be mistaken for Naruto's eyes when he goes into Kyuubi mode. She smashed through the divider as the women in the bath did their best to cover up. Tsunade looked around, trying to find Jiraiya, but all she saw was that old man. It was obvious that this was the pervert. So you like peeping on women, don't you? All over the hot springs the sound of cracking knuckles and breaking bones could be heard. Jiraiya cringed upon hearing this, remembering the time when Tsunade beat him to a pulp. Naruto, that was evil, but sadly that man deserved it. Someone who shamelessly peeps on women for no reason deserves that, said Jiraiya. What are you talking about, you old pervert? You peep on women as well, argued Naruto. Jiraiya turned his head away and crossed his arms as he pouted a bit. Well, I have a reason. Peeping gives me inspiration to write my books, replied Jiraiya. Sure, said Kurama sarcastically. Naruto laughed with the fox. The five of them were about an hour or two outside Konoha. His stomach had been bothering him all day. Despite having eaten only an hour ago, his stomach was craving something else, ramen. He still had the taste of that disgusting ramen from Tanzaku town in his mouth and he knew that there was only one cure for it, Ichiraku ramen, the most delicious ramen in the world. Like Naruto, something was bothering Hinata, however, it wasn't her stomach. For the past few weeks, she had been able to easily accept that she had wind element chakra instead of the traditional Hyuga earth element. This was mainly due to Naruto distracting her from those thoughts. However, as she got closer to home, the thoughts of telling her father this crept back into her mind and slowly she began to retreat back into her shell. Unfortunately for Naruto, there were places they had to go first before he could get his ramen and he was sure he could smell it all over the village, torturing him. Their first stop was the Hokage Tower where Tsunade had to have a small meeting with the advisors, Homaru and Kaharu. They announced that the inauguration would be 3 days from now, after the local lords and clan heads were able to assemble. The next stop once they were in Konoha was the hospital. This is why Naruto had brought her home, to heal Sasuke and Kakashi-sensei and to have a look at Lee's condition. Tsunade woke Kakashi, scolding him a bit for falling like that to Itachi. Sasuke was next. Naruto walked into Sasuke's room with Tsunade, startling Sakura. Who knows how many times she had visited him. Sakura's first thought upon seeing Tsunade was who exactly this beautiful woman was. Tsunade placed her hand on Sasuke's forehead and channeled some chakra into him. Sakura was relieved when he began coming to only a few minutes later. Sasuke, she cried out, embracing him as he sat up for the first time in a few weeks. While Naruto was relieved that Sasuke was going to be alright and that Sakura was happy, still, he didn't even get a thank you from her. Perhaps Jiraiya was right about her. Standing behind Tsunade while she finished up with Sasuke was Guy, begging her to look at his student, Lee. Tsunade took a quick look at Lee and unfortunately, it wasn't good. While his arms and legs would eventually heal, he had numerous fragments of bone lodged within his spinal column. Were he to operate as a shinobi, not only would the fragments slow him down, but they would eventually tear through his neural framework, paralyzing him if not worse. She explained that the surgery was incredibly risky, with only a 50% chance of success and that she was the only one skilled enough to perform it. If it failed he would die. Even with the surgery being a success, there was no guarantee that he would be able to perform at the level required to be a shinobi, given months of intensive therapy to even get him back on his feet. Lee was now left with an incredibly difficult decision: go through with the surgery and risk dying, or give up his lifelong dreams. This was the part that Hinata was not looking forward to. Even though Master Jiraiya was accompanying her, she almost feared the upcoming meeting with her father. Ah, Hinata, Jiraiya-sensei, I heard the two of you arrived just recently and that Tsunade-sama was accompanying you, said Hiyashi, greeting the two of them at the gate of their compound. I trust everything went smoothly. I hope the training went well as well. Hiyashi looked down at Hinata, who looked at the ground and away from her father's attention. This indicated that something was wrong. Actually, I was hoping we could discuss that in private, said Jiraiya. Now Hiyashi was curious. Did something happen? Or did Hinata not do well in the training? Hiyashi guided them into his study, with Hinata silently following, looking for some way to get out of this. Unfortunately, nothing was going to save her. So is something wrong? Did something happen? Or did Hinata not progress as far as I had expected? Asked Hiyashi. Were those scrolls too much for her? Actually, the funny thing is, those scrolls were completely useless, said Jiraiya, trying to lighten the mood in the room. I hate to say it, but she didn't even have the opportunity to look at them. Hiyashi shot a look of disappointment at his daughter. So I am to understand that her training in the earth element was a complete failure, said a disappointed Hiyashi. Hinata retreated into herself even more. Sadly, that is the case. She can't use the earth element, stated Jiraiya. Hinata, from what I have heard, I am extremely disappointed in you. I expected you to at least be able to use a basic earth jutsu upon return. Explain yourself, scolded Hiyashi. Hinata was about ready to burst into tears. It's because my element, well it's not earth, she said. Not earth? Asked Hiyashi, raising an eyebrow at her. Well, then what element do you have? Wind, she said as Hiyashi's eyes grew in shock. Just like her mother, he thought, regaining himself. Hinata was preparing herself for the scolding of a lifetime for failing her father. I see, then tell me, how did your training in the wind element go? I would say the two of them progressed very far in the wind element. They got through the first two exercises in a matter of 3 weeks, about a month faster than your old teammate, said Jiraiya. I see. Hiyashi said, thinking for a moment. I must say that I'm impressed then, Hinata. The wind element is a difficult one to master. And sensei, you said the two of them, does that mean Naruto has? Hinata's head picked up at her father's compliment. Yes, both of them have the wind element, which is rather surprising considering how rare it is, explained Jiraiya. Father, you're not disappointed with me? Asked a slightly confused Hinata. Hiyashi shook his head. No, I am not. This is something we can't control, and if I remember correctly, sensei, you wanted me to have a wind element, said Hiyashi, remembering what Jiraiya had said back in the day. I have also seen the value in combining the wind element with the gentle fist. Unfortunately, the elders I am not so sure about. Oh, about that, said Jiraiya, remembering that one little piece of information from the trip regarding the elders. Hiyashi was now interested as to what Jiraiya was about to say. Let's just say, Hinata has known about Naruto's, well, air condition. You don't mean, said Hiyashi, as Jiraiya nodded his head. How did she find out? The funny thing about that is apparently one of the elders told her about it when she was 8 inches, said Jiraiya. Ideas were flowing through Hiyashi's head. One of the elders had broken the Sandime's law. He had been looking for stuff like this to use against them. Hinata, who is it? Asked Hiyashi, wanting to get names. It was Iro, said Hinata. Iro was the eldest and strictest of the 3 elders, and now Hiyashi had something on him that could one day be used against him, should he get out of line again. Father, what's going to happen now? Asked a concerned Hinata. She wasn't only concerned for how he was going to deal with her, but also how he was going to handle the elders. Sensei, you said she got past the first 2 exercises for wind manipulation. Jiraiya nodded. We finished that almost a week ago, but I felt that her and Naruto were better off learning the next exercise from Asuma. Also Hiyashi, it appears as if she has some natural talent with the wind element. What do you mean? Asked Hiyashi. You've seen her protection of the 8 trigrams, right? Asked Jiraiya. Hiyashi nodded, seeing it during the final round. That move is a wind-style ability. She subconsciously mixed in the wind chakra while developing that, giving it its power. I see, so that's why it was so different, said Hiyashi, impressed by what Hinata had actually managed to create. He thought for a little and then turned to Hinata. Hinata, I am afraid the Hyuga teachings will only work to a limited extent for you now. But what am I to do? If your instruction doesn't help, then how am I supposed to make you proud? Asked Hinata. I don't know. A few days ago, Neji mentioned to me that something was off about your gentle fist, explained Hiyashi. I now see why. You are much more like your mother than I had initially thought. Mom. What about her? This was one of the few times she had ever heard Hiyashi refer to her mother. When she died, shortly after giving birth to Hanabi, Hiyashi was devastated and didn't talk about her much. Hinata, like you, your mother had wind chakra. I am happy to say this, you are constantly becoming more and more like your mother. Don't ever change that. Hiyashi and Hinata smiled at each other, having a nice father-daughter moment there. Hinata, from now on, you will be dividing your training between training in the gentle fist with me, training your wind element, and a final training exercise. Final training exercise? She asked. Yes, the gentle fist won't do much use for you. With that, you need to begin to create a derivative style of the gentle fist that suits you. I know it will be difficult and I will be here to help you as much as possible, but it is now something that you will have to do if you are to have any hope against the elders in a few years, said Hiyashi. Don't worry, you'll be fine. I have faith in you. Now, why don't you go meet with Neji? He's been wanting to see your progress. I have some business I need to discuss with my sensei. Hinata bowed and left the study. As the door closed, Hiyashi activated the privacy seals around the room. How is the progress on the seal coming? Hiyashi asked Jiraiya. Flashback. It was the day after their fight with Orochimaru and Jiraiya finally had a chance to take a look at the caged bird seal provided to him by Hiyashi. What the hell is this? He said upon his initial inspection of the seal. After examining the scroll further, he was growing more and more disgusted with the seal. It was worse than he had imagined. End flashback. It's going to be difficult finding a way to remove it, admitted Jiraiya. The inner workings of the seal are much more complex than I had thought. It's so entwined with the brain that most removal methods that I know would shred the brain to pieces within the first stages of the process. Then it is as I feared. Do you think you will be able to find a way to remove it? Asked Hiyashi. Possibly. But it will take time to figure out how to unravel the seal from the bearer's brain, said Jiraiya. Fine. You are the best hope there is of finding a way to remove it, and if there is anything that you require, I'll supply it to you, offered Hiyashi. Okay. At some point in time, once I am able to understand this seal more, I may need to examine a branded Hyuga, said Jiraiya. So long as the examination will not kill them, I have someone in mind, said Hiyashi. Jiraiya knew who this was, Neji. The following day, Tsunade was sitting in her office, going over the Chunin exam notes left by her predecessor and a few of the judges. Analyzing each of the Konoha contestants, it was clear that most of them had the skills required to be a Chunin, but only 2 individuals stuck out as being ready to fulfill the duties associated with the rank of Chunin, Shikamaru Nara and Haku Yuki. Unlike the rest of the field, both candidates showed an uncanny ability to adapt to the changing conditions of battle. Tsunade was extremely surprised that Inara had even made it to the final round at such a young age. Normally, it wasn't until they were 15 to 16 before they were finally forced to put forth the effort. Haku was another surprise to her. Before leaving the village, the Yuki clan and the Hyoten did not exist in the village, yet Haku was here. Upon further examination of the records, Tsunade saw something even more surprising. Zabuza Momoichi was a registered ninja of this village. The reason why he was a ninja of this village was even more surprising. She would have to meet personally with him, however her schedule was already filling up and the advisors and clan heads had been pushing her to decide the results of the Chunin exam. Based on the data collected from a single round of fights, Tsunade made her decision, calling in Shikamaru and Haku and awarding them their promotion to Chunin rank. The reactions from the two were completely different. On one hand, Shikamaru was hoping that by forfeiting the first match, he wouldn't be considered for a promotion. He just wanted to be an ordinary ninja and here he was, reaching the rank of Chunin by age 12. There was only one word to describe this: troublesome. Later that day, Sasuke was discharged from the hospital after waking the previous day from the almost comatose state Itachi left him in after using the Tsukuyomi on him. Walking from the hospital to training ground 7, where Kakashi had called a team meeting, there were a few questions echoing in his head as he thought about his defeat at the hands of Itachi. Why was there still such a difference in their skill? Why was Itachi interested in Naruto? Where could he get more power so that the next time he saw Itachi, he would be able to kill that man? Team 7 arrived at the training ground. Kakashi's intention was to discuss the new Hokage Tsunade, which kept Haku and Sakura's interest for a little. Naruto was easily distracted as he had just spent practically the last 2 weeks with her. Sasuke was busy brooding. Kakashi-sensei, is that a Chunin vest Haku has on? Asked Sakura, noticing Haku's slight change in attire. Yes, it appears as if Haku has made Chunin, said Kakashi. Wait, who else got Chunin? Asked Naruto, hoping that Tsunade chose to promote him as well. Just me and Shikamaru Nara, replied Haku. What? Shikamaru? The rest of the team said in unison, surprised that Shikamaru had actually managed to get promoted and they didn't. Haku had to explain that he wasn't really sure on the promotion process, but said that Tsunade promoted them based on the notes left by the judges and the third before invasion began. Naruto would have to have a word with Tsunade Bachan later on why he didn't get promoted. Naruto spent the next few minutes complaining that he should have gotten promoted as well. After all, he had been training extensively for the past few weeks. Exactly what kind of training, Dobi? Asked Sasuke. Chakra nature manipulation, I think is what Pervy Sage called it, replied Naruto. This caught the attention of everyone on the team. Chakra nature manipulation was something that usually wasn't taught until one became a Chunin, not to mention that was a type of training that Sasuke thought that only he had gone through, and now Naruto had done it as well. Chakra nature manipulation? Asked Sakura. She was smart, but this wasn't something that was taught in the academy in depth as they didn't want the students rushing into this particular type of training. Kakashi then had to explain in depth the 5 different elements, explaining how everyone had at least one elemental affinity that was strong and that some people had 2, using Sasuke as an example as he had both a lightning and fire nature to his chakra. Wait, so then what nature does Naruto's chakra have? Wind, said Naruto, smiling a bit. This surprised Kakashi as he explained that wind was a rather rare affinity. Hey Kakashi-sensei, speaking of which, how does wind match up against Sasuke-tem here? Sasuke scoffed at the comment. Well, actually I'm glad that you mention it. You see, each element has a certain element that they are strong against and a certain element that they are weak against. You have a wind element, which would give you an advantage over Sasuke's lightning because wind acts as a natural insulator, explained Kakashi. Naruto cheered and even rubbed it in a brooding Sasuke's face. Don't get too excited Naruto. I said Sasuke has 2 elements with the second of his, fire, actually being the element that wind is at a disadvantage against. Now it was Naruto's turn to pout. Wind fans the flames, making them more powerful. This caught Sasuke's attention. What do you mean makes the flames more powerful? I thought the element that has the advantage cancels out the other, he asked. Yes, well that is normally the case, but the relationship between wind and fire is special. Think, if you fan a fire, it only becomes bigger, explained Kakashi. Team 7 got this analogy. For this case, let's say Naruto were to use a wind jutsu to try and cancel out a fire jutsu of yours, most likely he would only make the flames more powerful and he would be hit with a stronger fire. The same goes for using fire in conjunction with wind. Now, if the two of you are facing an opponent, and you use a fire jutsu while Naruto uses a wind jutsu, he will make your attack stronger. This interested Sasuke. Perhaps the dobi wasn't so useless after all. Hey Kakashi-sensei, what about Haku's ice style? What category does that fit into? Asked Naruto. Ah, now there is an interesting point. Care to explain Haku? Said Kakashi. Ice style doesn't fit into any of the 5 categories, in fact it is a combination of 2 elements, wind and water, explained Haku. Combination of wind and water. Wait, does that mean that if I learn water I could use ice style? Asked Naruto. No. The ability to combine 2 different nature chakras into a new nature is extremely rare and it is considered a blood limit. The Shadaime's wood style was another example, explained Kakashi. This is something that is passed down through a specific lineage, such as Sasuke's Sharingan or the Hyuga's Byakugan. Also, not even the Sharingan can copy jutsus produced from a blood limit, so I can't copy Haku's Hyoten. Alright, but then does that mean Haku can use wind as well? I know he can use water, but can he use wind? Asked Naruto. I can, but I've only trained my wind chakra to an extent where I can use ice-natured chakra. I've really only focused mainly on my Hyoten, and to some extent the Suiten, explained Haku. That brings me to my next question Naruto. Normally the first exercise, cutting the leaf, would take months to complete, yet Jiraiya informed me that you can already use a wind jutsu. How did you complete the first 2 phases in a matter of weeks? Asked Kakashi. Naruto smiled. Shadow clones. I see. It looks like you've discovered the real purpose behind the shadow clone technique, said Kakashi. Real purpose? Asked Sasuke. What was this, real purpose, and how did it give Naruto such good results? He had to know. Kakashi explained that shadow clones transferred the memories and experience back to the original upon being dispelled. This resulted in the experiences from training being multiplied by the number of clones created. This was just what he needed. Fortunately, Naruto had the shadow clone jutsu, and he had the Sharingan. All he had to do was have his Sharingan active the next time Naruto used his shadow clones and he would be able to copy the jutsu. Fortunately, Naruto was about to do just that. Sasuke hurried to activate his Sharingan as Naruto used his shadow clone jutsu to use them to show the results of using them. Sasuke had it, the tool that would help him with his training. He made the same hand seal Naruto and mimicked the chakra flow that his Sharingan picked up with Naruto. Kakashi's uncovered eyebrow rose when he saw what Sasuke was trying to do. Shadow clone jutsu, shouted Sasuke as 5 Sasuke clones popped into existence. Naruto began freaking out. What? How the hell can you use the shadow clone jutsu? He shouted at Sasuke. On the other hand, Sakura was fawning over the fact that there were now 6 Sasukes in front of her. I was wondering when you would finally copy the jutsu from Naruto, said Kakashi. What? You mean he copied me? Shouted Naruto. Why? You got a problem with that dobi? Asked all 6 Sasukes in unison. It was at this time where Naruto would get the last laugh as Sasuke began to feel the chakra drain from using the jutsu. The clones dispelled and Sasuke fell to his knees, panting with Sakura running to his side. Now you also see why it's a Jonin level technique. The amount of chakra it uses is very large. Although I'm impressed you were able to make 5 right off the bat like that, said Kakashi, smiling at Sasuke's foolishness. Kakashi-sensei, then how come Naruto can make so many? Asked Sakura helping Sasuke to find his feet. Because, if there is one place Naruto had the 2 of you beat, it's in the amount of chakra he has, said Kakashi. What? Really? How much does Naruto have? She asked again. Kakashi thought for a second. At this point in time, about 50x more than I do and almost 100x more than Sasuke, explained Kakashi. What? The rest of Team 7 said, while Naruto just smiled. How? Kakashi explained that it was the fox that allowed Naruto's chakra to develop to the extent that it was at. This was an acceptable answer to them as they were well aware that the Kyuubi itself was a being of immense chakra. While their meeting came to an end, there was one thing left that Sakura wanted to know. There was a reason it wasn't taught at the academy, and this was pretty much it. Kakashi-sensei, so what is my element? She asked. Kakashi's head dropped. He had been hoping to get out of this. Kakashi sighed and handed her a piece of chakra litmus paper. He explained to her how the paper works and used the remaining members of Team 7 as an example. Sakura did as she was instructed and channeled the chakra into her paper. The paper burst into flames, indicating she had the fire element. The meeting came to an end and Team 7 was dismissed. As Naruto turned to walk away, he was stopped by Sasuke. There was one more thing Sasuke needed to know. Naruto, why was Itachi after you? He asked in a demanding tone, wanting to know why Itachi had no interest in him. Sakura wasn't entirely sure what Sasuke was talking about. In fact, she didn't even know who this Itachi was. Sasuke, Itachi is your brother, right? The one who you want to kill? Asked Naruto. It finally came to Sakura. Itachi was that man. The one he said he lived to kill when the team met for the very first time with Kakashi-sensei. Yeah, that's right, said Sasuke coldly. Why was he interested in you? I don't know why they want him, but they were actually after Kurama, said Naruto. The Kyuubi. Why would he want the Kyuubi? Asked Sasuke. I don't know exactly why they want it, but apparently he's part of an organization known as Akatsuki and they are after the Kyuubi, said Naruto. At least that's what Pervy Sage told me. This made sense to Sasuke. If there was one thing he knew was that if Itachi ever got his hands on the Kyuubi, then there would be no chance of him defeating Itachi. As such, he would have to get stronger to ensure that didn't happen. He had a few things on his to-do list, including a summoning contract that had been on his mind ever since Naruto summoned Gamabunta to help them fight Gaara. He had an idea on where he was going to get one and fortunately, he had to make a trip there in a few days. Unfortunately for the rest of the senseis of the Konoha 13, their teams were also on the same discussion of elemental chakra manipulation. Hinata told her team about what she had been working on and Kiba immediately began asking Kurenai about chakra nature manipulation until finally he convinced her to help them find out what their elements were. After all was said and done, Kiba had a fire element and Shino had an earth element. Neji had told Tenten about the training that he had been doing with Hiashi, learning earth chakra manipulation as was common with most Hyuga his age. As a result, Tenten's constant nagging forced Guy's hand and he decided to test her element as well. After explaining what each element was, Tenten was really hoping for the wind element as that would go hand in hand with her use of weapons. Now, 2 wind users within a few years was extremely rare for Konoha, but 3 would have just been unbelievable. Unfortunately for Tenten, she did not have a wind element. However, the lightning element she had was a good second choice as she would eventually be able to use it to increase the piercing power of her weapons. As for Team 10, now that Shikamaru was a Chunin, it was actually time for him to learn elemental manipulation. Unfortunately for Asuma, once Ino realized that Sakura had found out what her element was, it was only a matter of time before Ino came begging Asuma to help her determine hers. After some begging from Ino, he finally gave in. Shikamaru, who was supposed to be the only one to learn about this, ended up with a fire nature to his chakra, which suited him rather well. Fire created light and light created shadows. This would work out perfectly for him. Choji found out that he had earth-natured chakra, which was common amongst the Akamaiki clan. Ino discovered she had a water nature to her chakra. Upon realizing that she had the elemental advantage over Sakura, there was no way she would let Sakura hear the last of this one. For the senseis of the Konoha 13, this was exactly what they were hoping to avoid. Sasuke, Haku, Neji, and Hinata should have known because of their clans and Shikamaru because he was a Chunin, but everyone else should not have known until they were at least Chunin. Unfortunately, now they were stuck with teams begging them to help them in their elemental chakra nature training. It was the day of September 20th. The day after the hype of elemental chakra manipulation, and the day that Tsunade was to be inaugurated as the Godime Hokage of the village hidden in the leaves. Tsunade stood atop the Hokage tower with the entire village in the square below, cheering her on. She had on the ceremonial Hokage robes and the Hokage hat. Naruto stood down below with his team. That would definitely be him one day, up there being inaugurated as the Hokage and cheered on by the entire village. From this day forth, I swear to lead and protect Konohamagakure with my very life as the Godime Hokage, announced Tsunade as the entire village let out a big cheer. Hoping I did the meetings between Hiashi, Hinata, and Jiraiya and the one with Team 7 correctly. Also, even though everyone knows their elemental affinity, doesn't mean I'm going to be giving them elemental jutsu. Until they become Chunin, most people won't be learning chakra nor manipulation. The only exceptions to this are Sasuke, Naruto, Hinata, Neji, and Haku. Shikamaru will begin his training, although I probably won't be covering his training except maybe in a short flashback, but then again he is actually ready for this being a Chunin. Regarding who I made Chunin, Shikamaru obviously made Chunin in canon. I made Haku a Chunin as well, given that he does in fact have the abilities of a good tactician, as stated by Zabuza in the canon Land of Waves. Also, a few of the village elders may have helped push the decision in favor of him being a Chunin, trying to secure the last known bearer of the Hyoten blood limit to the village. Haku will still remain with Team 7, but he will also be going off on his own missions as well now. Special. Clans of Konoha, the Hyuga clan. Alright, so I figured I would start detailing how I would handle some of the clans in Konoha within this fanfiction. I will start with the Hyuga clan, as they have seen the most exposure, and I will be involving a few more individuals of the clan in later chapters. As you know, the Hyuga's blood limit is the Byakugan. The Byakugan is one of the 3 great dojutsu. This dojutsu gives the wielder an increased sense of vision, allowing them to see for many kilometers in a single direction or providing them with a nearly 360-degree field of vision within approximately a 50 meters radius. The Byakugan also grants a form of X-ray vision, allowing the bearer to see through most solid objects. The third and greatest ability of the Byakugan is the ability to see the flow of chakra in an opponent's chakra network with remarkable clarity. This makes their fighting style, the gentle fist, extremely effective. The Hyuga clan is comprised of mainly taijutsu using shinobi, although some, especially the branch family members, tend to employ ninjutsu as well. The most common chakra nature amongst the Hyuga clan is earth. However, there are some individuals, such as Hinata, who don't have earth-natured chakra. The earth element can even be seen in their gentle fist style of fighting, which is seen as strong, forceful, and strict. Like the earth blocks the flow of water in a river, the gentle fist blocks the flow of chakra within the body. The Hyuga clan is divided up into 2 main classifications of families, the main branch and the side branch. For the purposes of this story, the main branch will consist of 3 families. The head family of the main branch is the family in which Hiashi, Hinata, and Hanabi fit into. It is from this family that the clan head comes from. The elders from each of the 3 families make up the clan council. The head family consists of Harabi, Hiyashi's father, age 60, Hiashi, age 36, Hinata, age 11 to 12, and Hanabi, age 6. The second family of the main branch consists of Moriko, age 62, Duranji, age 30, and Shini, female, age 6. The final family in the main branch consists of Iro, age 65, Kenjo, age 39, Shinji, age 13, male, and Kanumi, age 4, female. The oldest members in each family form the council. In each family, when the eldest child, if there is more than one, reaches the age of 17, they are tried by the clan head and the council to determine if they are suited to one day assume the role that they were meant to play in the clan, either head or elder. Should they pass, the younger of the siblings is branded into a branch family. However, should it be deemed that the younger of the siblings is more fit for such a position, then the eldest will be branded and the younger child will be instated as the heir of that family. The duties of the clan head and elders are divided as such. The clan head is in charge of most of the affairs, both internal and external. The elders serve as more of an advisory council, however, they are the body in charge of placing the caged bird seal on the branch members. They also hold some minor powers, privileges in the clan, but can be overridden by the clan head in most cases. Every other member of the Hyuga clan that is not a member of the main branch is a member of the side branch. Members include Neji, Ko, and many others. It is the duty of the side branch to protect and serve the main branch. As such, the main branch has branded the branch family with the caged bird seal, which gives the main branch the power of absolute fear of death over the branch family. With a simple hand seal, a main family member can activate the seal, causing excruciating pain, neurological damage, and if active long enough, death to the targeted branch member. The caged bird seal is nearly impossible to remove, with the only known way to get rid of it is death. Jiraiya is currently looking into a way to remove it, but the seal is so entwined in the branch member's brain that tampering with the seal even the slightest bit will most likely kill said person. Because of the virtual enslavement of the side branch, this has led to a growing rift between the two parts of the clan. The only members of the main branch that the branch families truly respect are Hinata, because she has always shown kindness and respect towards them, her sister Hanabi, and Hiyashi to a lesser extent, due to his efforts to keep the stricter elders in line from exerting their powers as main branch members unjustly on the branch members. Despite this rift, the Hyuga clan is currently the strongest clan in Konohagakure. Before the Uchiha massacre, a major rivalry existed between the two clans for superiority in the village. However, that has changed and the Hyuga are unmistakably the strongest clan in Konoha. Sasuke is the only known member of the Uchiha clan still loyal to the village.